Car, car, car. This is the greatest Kraftwerk song you've never heard by DJ Hell. We're here with my Technics turntable, Nagaoka cartridge, Schiit Jotunheim headphone amp, and because it's a Sunday, the Meze 99 Classics headphones. And Meze have been very quiet these past couple of years, but they've gone straight from this to a brand new flagship headphone. So in this metal flight case is the Empyrean headphone, and this sells for 10 times the price of the 99 Classics. Like I said, this is a flagship headphone. If we look inside, open it up, you can see the headphones themselves, a second pair of ear pads, a nice little thank you card, and then we have two different types of cables. So a balanced cable and a single-ended cable. And then we have the headphones themselves. So the structure of this earpiece, all of it here, is machined from a single piece of aluminium. Even this beautifully filigreed textured surface on the back of the ear cup is made from a subtractive process. It's really quite beautiful. We can adjust the fit with this slider here. It's very stiff, very firm, which is good because you don't want that moving once it's on your head. But the really important ingredient in this headband is not this very flexible metal structure here, but this piece of leather here has these wings. It distributes the weight better on top of the head, so you don't get these pressure points when you're listening for a long time. You don't get that pain on the top of your head. And what I really like about these headphones, the thing I like about these the most, probably even more than the sound quality, is that they fit into my idea of what a headphone listening experience should be, in that you just put them on your head and you sink into a comfortable chair with comfortable headphones and you can sink into the music. Everything feels really cozy and just really plush and comfortable, a bit like these big squishy ear pads here. It feels like you're just being wrapped in a big fat blanket. So these Audeze LCD-4z, they're a heavier headphone than the Empyrean. I really feel that I'm wearing a pair of headphones when I put these on. I can't listen to these for a long time as I can with the Empyrean. They're a bit fatiguing in the long term. But at the other side of the Empyrean comfort factor are the Sennheiser HD800S. These disappear on the head. I don't feel like I'm really wearing headphones at all when I'm wearing these. That's better than having something that's too heavy. These don't really fit into my idea of having my ears gently cushioned that the Empyrean give me. So these are too light, the Audeze are too heavy, the Empyrean are just right, they're spot on. It's like having a Goldilocks moment, really. So this headphone is not just the work of Romania's Meze, but also the driver is made by a Ukrainian company called Renaro. It's a planar magnetic driver. It weighs 0.16 grams, super light. Some people tend to prefer the sound of a planar driver because of its speed, because of its frequency extension, but not always in the very top end, not always. Ordinarily, planar magnetic drivers are a single film that vibrate and they have a trace on them that moves backwards and forwards, like switchback like this. This one is different because this one is not a single trace, it's kind of like two traces. There's a sort of serpentine switchback here for low frequencies, and then right here behind this gold dot here is a circular trace for high frequencies. It's positioned here so it fires directly into the ear. So it's not the whole driver trying to fire into the ear and do all frequencies at once. It's like this is low and mid, this is high frequencies here. So kind of like a two-way, but there's no crossover here. It's just on the film of the driver. Super, super thin. One of the benefits that I hear from this dual trace planar magnetic driver is we get wider head staging. So if you're somebody who doesn't like headphones because you think everything's too narrow and too pinched, these might change your mind about headphones because they go a bit wider this way and this way, so you can really feel the width of music. It's not like listening to speakers, but it's much closer. So I first noticed this extra wide head staging when I first heard these headphones at the Munich high-end show last year. But a show, it's no place to conduct a review. It's too noisy. You have to use the equipment that's being provided by the exhibitor. Whereas here, I get these headphones home. I can control the environment, it's deadly quiet. I can choose the music, I can choose the associated gear. Nowadays, I tend to prefer all-in-one boxes. So like the Schiit Jotunheim, it's a headphone amp, but it's got a phono board inside, an phono board. That's what I use down here with my turntable and with my SL-1200. Upstairs, I've got a Chord DAVE. That's a very high-end DAC with a headphone output. And so I've been using these Meze Empyrean with the Jotunheim and the DAVE in order to conduct listening tests. Test is such a clinical word, but in order to assess this product to work out what I think about it, and also to conduct comparisons. Never trust a review that doesn't have comparisons with other gear. So the Empyrean are an easy to drive headphone. On my Schiit Jotunheim head amp here, I run it on the low gain setting and I don't need much of a volume turn. Comparing that to the Audeze LCD-4z, these need a bit more grunt, just a little bit more. These are pretty easy to drive. But in fact, they're so easy that I'm going to unplug them here because our cameraman here, Olaf, has unearthed a very old Sony Walkman. This guy, and Olaf has kindly loaded in Dire Straits, his brothers in arms. So we put that in there, then we connect our Meze here. Like that. So this is my portable audio system for the day with my Empyrean headphones. This is not an outdoor headphone, this is an indoor headphone, but this is just for a bit of fun. I'm going to click play. So, and the volume is on the bottom here. So turn the volume down. Yeah. It's actually a bit heavy in the left-hand channel. I think there's something wrong with the head alignment on this Walkman. But yeah, we get... Ah, that's better. Yeah, you can do it. It works. Let's be very clear about one thing. I cannot stand Dire Straits. Let's talk about sound quality. I find that the Empyrean here, they really open up the sunroof on music compared to the Audeze LCD-4z. But not as much as the Sennheiser HD800S. So these are kind of like, these are in the middle, again, in terms of top-end extension between the Sennheiser and the Audeze. So nicely extended up top, not as airy as these, not as closed in as these. Now compared to the Sennheiser, these flagship Meze give us a meatier, thicker, chunkier sound. It's not as meaty or as thick or as chunky as the Audeze. So again, these Empyrean sit in the middle. So these are kind of a bit too thin sometimes. These might be described as a bit too thick and creamy sometimes. Again, Empyrean in the middle. In my last video, I described the Sennheiser as like a weak cup of filter coffee and the Audeze like a big cup of hot chocolate with cream. The Empyrean, possibly a cappuccino with a strong low-end kick and a double shot of tone density. You really get a lot of tone density with these, much more than the Sennheiser. Probably not quite as much as the Audeze, but again, it's like this middle ground, which I really enjoy. What does that mean for music? Well, for Prefab Sprout's protest songs, released in '85, I think, this is one of those classic thin-sounding 80s records. So the Sennheiser say it's too thin, the Audeze adds some much needed body, but for me the Empyrean really get that balance right. It's just the right amount of body without being overly lush and too thick. So the Meze add just the right amount of thickening agent to this album to stop it from sounding horribly 80s, but without overdoing it. It's nicely judged. If you, like me, like bands like McCluskey, which became Future of the Left, that kind of really aggressive but very intelligent post-punk, you might like this album. It's by Idols, it's called Brutalism. It's from a few years back. I've only just discovered it, thanks to Rune. Really, for me, the Empyrean is not quite as incisive with the micro detail as the Sennheiser, but I think that makes for a better experience with this kind of very edgy album with like lots of sawtooth guitars. I don't want them taking my head off. The Sennheiser tends to lean that way a little bit too much. The Empyrean for me sound just the right amount of organic without shaving off too much of the excitement. So up here in my office, I've been listening to the Empyrean with the Chord DAVE, fed by a MacBook. I've been really digging back into Audece's second album, Amber, this abstract electronic album with many, many complex layers. And that organic quality that the Empyrean seemed to mainline really comes to the fore when paired with the DAVE, which, as we know from the last video, with the Sennheiser is just too much, it's too clean. And the Audeze headphones sort that out. But if you don't like that big, thick, creamy sound, somewhere in the middle, the Empyrean. And one thing I like about what the Empyrean DAVE combination does is that it really sorts out the layers in the Audeze album. It really makes them nicely separated, but not too separated, but not just vertically, but also horizontally in terms of head stage width. When we're listening, like I said before, the Empyrean gives us a really wide sound, which is fantastic for this Audeze album. So the Empyrean come with two sets of pads. These sort of soft suede type and the pleather type, which just pull off like this, and we can swap them out very easily, like super easy. You might think, well, that's just for a different kind of comfort, but these ear cups on a headphone, they're effectively the room that sits between the driver and the ear. A different ear cup can give us a slightly different sound. And with these, things get a little bit more opaque, a little bit fuzzier. They're not quite as transparent, especially in the mid-range as these pleather cups. But some people might prefer that, might prefer that little bit more of a distance sort of quality to the music. They want to hear it a little bit further away and not so upfront and in their grill, so to speak. I think it's quite interesting that we get the choice so we can customize the sound of these high-end headphones to our personal taste, but also to the gear we're using. When I'm listening to vinyl downstairs with the Jotunheim, I want something to be as transparent as possible, so I'll use these. Up here with the DAVE digital audio, it's that very kind of clean, squeegee clean sound. Sometimes, just sometimes, I quite like these. A reminder again that for me, headphones aren't just about sound quality, they're also about comfort and that cozy feeling. And I think really the only headphone that I've tried, other than the Empyrean, that bests the Empyrean for that comfort factor is the AudioQuest NightOwl Carbon, which is probably the most comfortable headphone in the world and why I keep coming back to it. Because of that, it's so easy to wear. But the Empyrean aren't too far away. Again, this is why I like these kind of headphones as opposed to the Audezes. It doesn't matter how good the Audezes ever get, their comfort factor, their weight, they keep me at arm's length. They stop me going back to them again because they're just tiring to wear, but these two are not tiring to wear. This is my preference in terms of comfort. I think what I like about what Meze have done with the Empyrean is they've got the balance right between high-end sound quality and comfort. They haven't left comfort behind. The great thing about single-ended jacks like this is that every headphone amplifier has one. However, some people swear that balanced connectors like this sound better. And Meze give us a nice braided balance cable like this. I really wanted to say that this cable made no difference. I really did. I'm kind of a bit over the dogma that you hear about, well, unless you go balanced, it's not worthwhile, which I think is bull. But this cable gives us a little bit more top-end spice, which I really don't need for the Idols album. It also gives us a bit more micro-dynamic flair with the DJ Hell KKK single. Don't really need that. However, the greater level of transparency that this cable brings to albums like the Audeze album, that's impossible to ignore. If you've got a Jotunheim or something like it, this is well worth trying out. You might like it more, you might not. I mean, it depends upon the music you listen to and your personal proclivities, but well, it's kind of impressive that Meze have given us this, because a lot of companies tend to just give us the bare minimum. Like Audeze give us a single cable with their LCDs. Sennheiser give us 2 cables. This is the audio note cable that I used in the last video with the LCD-4z. This also features the same kind of connectors that the Empyrean use, This is expensive cable. What's interesting is this made more of a difference to the Audeze headphones than it does to the Empyrean. So that tells us the Empyrean single-ended cable is already very good. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend this cable with the Empyrean. I would with the Audeze. It makes a dramatic difference with the Audeze. For the same money as the Audio Note cable, we can get a Jotunheim, which has got single-ended and balanced outputs. And we can try the cable that ships with the Empyrean, which is this one here. It's nice. I don't use it all the time because when I want to go upstairs and use the DAVE does not have a balanced output, so I tend to stick to the single-ended wire. But that's for me. That's because I'm trying different headphone amps out all the time. It's quite impressive. There's no doubt about it that €3,500 is a lot of money for a headphone. But what I think is so impressive about what Meze have done with their Empyrean is they've just ticked all the boxes to leave no stone unturned. So they've nailed sound quality. I think it's probably the finest sounding headphone I've heard, the most balanced, the most well organized in terms of musical layers. It's very hard to fault it. The extension's very good. And nothing really draws attention to itself. But that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all the other extra stuff, like the metal carry case, cable choices, earpad choices. This pleather earpad gives me more mid-range transparency so that when I'm playing like DJ Hell's Car Car Car, I can hear the German lyrics. My German's not very good, so I really have to concentrate. The German lyrics more clearly, they're better enunciated with this earpad than with this earpad. So we have choices, we have options, they're really easy to swap out. And the Empyrean is the complete high-end headphone package with absolutely no qualifications, no niggles, no but this or but that. I just can't really fault it. It's almost like a faultless high-end headphone. And I don't mean just the headphone itself, I mean the entire package that you buy. So hats off to Meze Audio. They've just done an absolutely bang-up job with this product. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, just here. If you like my approach to high-end audio gear, please subscribe to this channel. I would just like to recap the music featured in this video. DJ Hell's Car Car Car, Idol's Brutalism, Prefab Sprout's Protest Songs, and Auteka's Amber. Thank you so much for watching. You're still rolling, you bastard, aren't you?